Welcome to the Remarkable Results Radio Podcast Network and the Town Hall Academy. We do it every Friday. And, this is the only weekly forum for aftermarket professionals that bring fresh, innovative discussion to inspire and grow individuals and companies. And obviously, we're live on Facebook. Everybody who's going to be chiming in on Facebook, you can watch it all weekend, and we'll repurpose the video and the audio as a podcast by next Wednesday. It's a great topic. Great topic today, and we appreciate getting the word out to the beloved aftermarket. You're in episode 56. Imagine I've done 56. We've all done 56 of these. Your ideal customer, defining your avatar. I want to thank Jasper Engines and Transmissions. At Jasper Engines and Transmissions, quality and customer service is their number one goal. Now, their associates take pride in their work, and it shows in the quality drivetrain products they produce. Their quality and customer service has kept them growing for 75 years. Thank you, Jasper, for supporting the Town Hall Academy. Who's here with me? Ron and Chosty. Say hi.
Hello.
From Coast Motorworks, a multi-shop owner from Huntington Beach, Irvine, Rancho Santa Margarita, and Costa Mesa, California, a BMW and Mini specialist. Patrick McHugh, Bimmer Rescue from Richmond, Virginia, actually sitting in a hotel room in Boston. Thanks for being here, man. And Brian Weeks from ATC Auto Center, third generation, 2 locations in Augusta and Grovetown, Georgia. He's partnered with his brother, Chris. Here's why we pulled this panel together. It was a few years back when Ron came on, and we did a great episode together. And I'll never forget it. He talked about this cardboard cutout, the avatar. And when we pull this thing together, knowing that Brian is very passionate about that, and Patrick also has and works on his avatar, and you can hear all of their episodes on the Remarkable Results Radio podcast, I decided to pull this thing together. Ron, I want to go to you with the first question, because we hear this a lot when I interview guests, and they talk about, one of the most important things in really understanding my customer is that darn cardboard cutout we have in the back room. And some people say, what's that?
So whether you call it a cardboard cutout or a avatar, ideal customer, I think that it's often something that's overlooked in our industry simply because it's at a whole nother level of understanding marketing, understanding your business. And I think that the vast majority of automotive repair businesses are sort of run in a sort of a firefighted mentality. We put fires out, customers come in, we react to the customers coming in versus controlling what customers come in. And the avatar, the cardboard cutout, we like to call it, is me defining the very best customers that I can think of, and then focusing on those very best customers, the ones that trust us, that believe in us, that are advocates of us, and really are the least likely to stray or the most likely to recommend.
They kind of go along with your purpose, don't they?
Absolutely. And I think in any business, really any service business especially, whether it's a service or product-based business, I think that building customer advocacy is really what it's all about. Obviously, Apple, Tesla, there's lots of companies out there that seem to understand this and really focus all of their energy on this whole idea of, we're believers. We really believe in your company. We believe in your purpose. And I think avatars or cardboard cutouts are the people that when you speak to them, they make eye contact. They're really believing what you're saying, and they believe in you. They believe in your company. They believe in what you're doing, and they trust you.
The thing that I love about the whole avatar thing, and that we have focused on who our customer really is because it's part of the fiber of your all of your companies. And when that person walks in the shop, when that person calls on the phone, you have a kinship to that person, even though they don't know it, because you've really, you've already set up, this is our ideal customer. And so do you sense that your people work harder, Ron, to make the customer experience right and to grab them and bring them in?
Once they learn and understand it, it's a concept that's doesn't really just sink in overnight. It takes time to really cement this logic of there are certain customers that just are always going to get us and always going to understand us, and then there's customers that just show up because we work on BMWs or Minis, and so that 15 minutes ago, I just had a customer drop off, and she walks in, and in her hand is a bottle of whiskey, and she hands it to me, and she says, "It's been a while here," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you." and she's absolutely 100% one of our cardboard cutouts. I know Ellen, and I know her really well.
Yeah,
she's been coming to us for a long time, and I can just simply take her key, and she says, "Call me when it's ready."
Wow. And in your description of your avatar, drops off a bottle of whiskey's in there, isn't it?
Usually it's red wine, but I always, one of my takeaways is always been making some sort of connection with customers, and making a really solid connection with my avatar is often about food or wine, or food or alcohol. But alcohol is not necessarily a cementing thing, but most people obviously love food, and I'm a nut about food, and I'm also a nut about wine. So it's easy for me to connect with people about food, and so when I want to genuinely have a conversation with them, it's easy for me just to let's talk about the car, but let's also talk about where'd you go last night for dinner, kind of thing, or what did you do while you were on vacation? Where did you eat? What did you have? That kind of stuff. And once you start to have a conversation that's not related about the car, then you start to really get a feel for this person's personality. You start to understand them a little bit better, and they start to understand you better.
Let's talk about that. Brian Weeks, can you help us start? Okay, cool. It's a great thing. We need to define who our customer is. So let's spend some time with a little bit of a blueprint. And I guess, Brian, it would start with trying to define who isn't our ideal customer.
Well, that's true, Carm, and thank you for having me on today. It's one of those things that you've got to have somewhere to start, and unfortunately, the easiest thing to do is figure out who you don't want to deal with. Who is the person that that's tough to deal with? Who is that customer? We've all had customers, and we've all had situations, and I'm not talking about something that you've made a mistake or you dropped the ball. I'm talking about the type of customer that you really don't necessarily want to service. And it's okay to fire customers, if you will. When you get into a situation of trying to define who you truly want, you need to start first with who you don't want to cater to. It's the situation to where you can't be everything for everybody. And when you are creating a brand story, there's certain people that they're not going to connect with your story.
Right.
And that's okay. It's not meaning that they're bad people or anything, but it's one of those things that you've got to understand who your target customer is. And in doing that, you need to start with who your target customer is not. So that kind of helps define, all right, let's set this apart. It's funny because pain is so real and it's memorable, it's vivid. It's something that's real easy. Like everybody can say, I remember that customer 6 months ago. But then you have to dissect that and say, why was it that wasn't a good experience for them or for us? Yeah. When you understand that and you just start listing these pain points, you begin to say, okay, this is who we don't want to cater to. They're not going to understand our story, and it's a situation that they might not want to buy your services. They may not understand the value that you're adding in. So, and that's okay. And it's not based around a bunch of negativity, but it's trying to separate things out to where you're narrowing down your focus of where you really want to be. Sometimes you look at it and say, well, you really need every type of person. Well, it doesn't. When you narrow your focus, that's really, truly going to help you create relationships with people.
You know what I'm hearing here, guys? And Patrick, I don't know if you agree with me. Less is more.
Absolutely.
Patrick, you have a great story I interviewed Patrick in 2017, probably 3, 4, 5 months ago. Patrick, was a great episode. In fact, I share so much of your STEM idea with people. In fact, I gave a keynote the other day and Saturday, and I mentioned you. And it was great to have you on, but we were talking this morning, Patrick and I, and he said it was Ron and Chosty that helped me with my avatar a while back. How cool is that?
Yeah. So these two guys below me are probably big time. They've been here a lot longer than I have. They've discovered this avatar thing a lot longer ago than I did. And probably about a year ago, I was talking with Cecil Boulard, who's my business coach. I'm in his SMART groups. And I was talking about these drop card things that I wanted to do. I wanted to put these cards on cars, and I just couldn't quite figure it out. And I was asking all these questions. Cecil didn't know what to answer. He said, "You got to call this guy Ron out in California. He'll know what to do." It took me a while to get a hold of Ron. He's a busy guy, but he took time out of his day to help a complete stranger on the other end of the country. He gave me about 20, 30 minutes, and his basic gist, what hit me was, you've got to figure out who these people are. Where do they work? Where do they live? What do they like to eat? What do they do for fun? And what kind of car they drive, and build an avatar for who you want. And I had no idea, what this was all about until I discovered that. And I want to stress to everybody what a huge turning point that was for our business. Once we discovered that, we quickly transitioned from the shop that worked on all the old cars, the stuff that was on that last leg, cars that just need to be put back together and, get another year down the road. And once we started to discover our avatar, it flipped our business upside down, and we became the shop that you brought your car to right when it was out of warranty, and you stayed with us for 6, 7 years until you bought another one. And it really, really changed everything, for our shop, and it opened my eyes to a lot of other things along the way, little surprises I didn't see coming. For example, I started to discover who our avatar was, and we found a way to plot our top 100 customers. We called our point of sale people, and I asked for a spreadsheet of our top 100 customers, and I plopped them onto this Google map, a thing called My Maps, and it showed me where these people lived. Where did our top 100 people live? And we filtered out some of the weird ones, or the big ticket engine job that never came. We picked out all the people we wanted, put them on this map, and it showed a huge pocket of people that lived in this town that was like 25 miles or 20 miles from my shop. And we weren't marketing to that town because it was too far away geographically for us to think that it made any sense to market to them. And our mail marketing wasn't stretching that far. Nothing was stretching that far. And I started calling those people. There was like 8 cars or 8 people in that town. I called all of them and said, "Why do you come to me?" And they all said, "Well, I work right across the street at this one huge company." So these people I was missing them, and because they didn't live close enough, but they worked near me. And that was when that clicked. It's not just where they live, but it's where they work too. And all that stuff just lit a fire. And suddenly I started running around doing all this other stuff.
Patrick, did they fit into your avatar?
Well, yeah. I mean, they lived in this place that has, they live in nice houses. The cars, everything clicks in for them. So like their cars were newer cars, 4 or 5-year-old BMWs and Mini Coopers. And they lived in these areas. They make a certain amount of money because they all work for the same company. And if you're driving a BMW and you work for this company, good chances are you've got the income to take care of this car properly. They all match. They're all like the same person almost, So
I appreciate that, guys. Let's jump into some really how-to stuff. Okay, so the team the people that are watching this and listening to this, and that are going to have a chance to listen to it on the World Wide Web forever, and they want to say, okay, cool, guys, tell me how to do this. We've got to figure out the who, what, why, and how of our avatar, of our ideal customer. But one of the big questions that I'm curious, do you sit down with your people, your team, and do this? Or is this something you do in the office by yourself?
Well, I'll take that answer. I think that it's a little bit of everything. Some of it's what, like Patrick was saying, you look at some of your invoices, you look at some of your records over the past 6 months, let's say, and you you try to discuss with your shop writers, hey, who's the customer that you just always have the most trust from, the one that just always brings their car in and does whatever you tell them to do. Recommendations, just go ahead and do it, kind of thing. And then also, thinking about another little deeper element would be to think about is there people out there that you feel like you can't relate to, much like what Ryan was saying. There's people out there that you'll never be able to truly relate with, and those are people you're going to have a tough time advertising to. And I think that the one thing that always needs to be thought about, and I'm sure many people that are watching this are probably, the first thing to go through their head is well, I'm going to alienate all these people out there, and that's simply not true. I think it's, I forget who coined this phrase of the law of innovation, of diffusion of innovation, but the bell curve of advertising is the same as the bell curve in anything else. You really want to obviously have the most market share that you can in any type of business, and what we're going to aim for is a peak of that bell curve. We're going to aim for our ideal customer needs to be obviously in a business or suited to our business. Then once you define that peak, then everything that's on either side of that peak is obviously still going to come in. You're just hoping that you can weed out the stuff on the low end of the peak. The bottom end of that bell curve is what you're trying to eliminate. Mm-hmm. They could be the people that are just never going to leave the dealership. They could be the people who are do-it-yourselfers. They could be the techies, the people that walk in and tell you everything that, all the P codes that are in their car. They could be a number of people, but the goal here is to obviously improve your business, improve your profitability, improve your efficiency, and improve your income. And at the same time, you do it while making customers even more happy, and you wind up with less complaining customers.
Brian, did you sit down with your team?
We did something a little bit different. And Ron, you're absolutely right. I think you back up and say when you involve your team with it improves morale. The type of people that are coming in and deciding to choose to allow you to do service on their vehicles, when they fit your avatar, it makes it easier for everybody. And, morale, company culture, every bit of that rises. But what we ended up doing, Carm, you and I talked quite a while back about our business used to be called Augusta Transmission Clinic. And when we were looking at growing the business and expanding the business, we kind of took a little bit of a different approach. We went back to ground zero. We interviewed people, customers internally with all of our people, and just tried to understand, who we were, but then building this brand all was designed around who our avatar, our persona, our ideal customer was. So we kind of went from the ground up with it to where we said, okay, this is what do we want to deal with? It's just like anybody creating a business. What are you passionate about? We wanted to see who we were passionate about serving, because what we do is tough work. But when you're dealing with the type of people you want to deal with, it makes it better for everybody. So starting from the bottom, because everything you do, from branding, marketing, culture, everything is designed around who you want to target.
That's
the avatar.
Brian, that is one heck of a takeaway here. If you're going to sit down and find your ideal customer, mm-hmm. you may be doing some big soul searching on the company too.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It made a huge difference in us, and it opened us up to a situation. Again, we were looking at growing the business, and now we've been fortunate enough to have 2 locations, and that creates another dynamic altogether, because you really end up looking at your demographics and having to create really a second avatar depending on who you're catering to. Always tell people, start with one and do it very, very, very well.
Yep.
You may find that's all you need.
Do you have you have 2 stores, Brian. Ron, you have 4. Do you have different avatars per location?
Yes, I would say that there's a subtlety differences. Our Irvine shop is a little bit different little bit different pace. It's a little different setup, and so the customers that are around that shop tend to be just a slightly different affluence, slightly different ethnic background. But this overall, I would say the advertisements that we do, the marketing that we do, still falls pretty well into that category. We just maybe do it a little bit differently there. We change things around a little tiny bit, and we're constantly in a state of flux of change. When it comes to our marketing, obviously.
Right. At their core, they're the same people. But like you said, the demographics might be a little bit different. They're the affluent area that you're dealing with. You might have a different type of service for that. And that's how the avatar changes. But at the core, it stays the same.
Yeah.
I'd like to add something that we've noticed. We've talked with our team about this, and they actually came up with this kind of thought. There's different avatars for the different cars that walk in the door.
Yeah.
A Mini Cooper owner is going to be looking for totally different things than an Audi owner or a BMW owner. For example, when a Mini Cooper arrives, Mini Cooper's owners tend to be a lot more fanatical about their cars. They're in clubs. They do this weird wave thing to people. They just love their cars. And if the car arrives and you walk out to the car, which we usually do to meet the person and meet the car and look it over and start to compliment things. This is an interesting color on the car. Look at this. What color is this? Is this the something blue? Oh, it's not. It's the other one. Like it strikes them so much more than if you walk up to a BMW guy and, oh, that's a nice black color. And he just kind of stands there staring at you like, what? Why do you care about the color? They're into different things, and it's such a fine line. So
I think Mini Cooper owners tend to name their cars more than anyone else I've ever met.
Yep. And they got stickers and stuff all over them. And I'm not like that. In my car, I have nothing on my car. I have the glove, the owner's manual in the glove box, and that's it. But if I can be more like them when they're there, they will like that, and they appreciate that.
Patrick, that's funny you say that, because you say I'm not like that. I think that's one of the keys too, is don't design an avatar around you.
Yeah,
you're not your ideal customer.
Yep, exactly.
Even though you may know what that is, you've got to design it around who your customer.
And ultimately, the key word, I think Ron taught me this, or Cecil has said it a million times, you will attract who you are, or who you're being at that moment. And the BMW guys don't mix with the Mini Cooper guys. There's plenty of people that drive a BMW that will not get in a Mini Cooper. They won't even drive it,
So that's almost even more important, that if you attract who you are being, and you may not be who your avatar is because of your location and the influence you are in the neighborhood that you're in, that's almost more of a reason why the success of your business is dependent on you really defining who your customer is. It's not you.
Absolutely.
It's not you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ron, I love something you just said earlier, about spending time and building the relationship in food and wine and all that great stuff. And what Patrick said about being with the avatar and complimenting them on their vehicle, it goes back to giving back to your avatar.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the key is in any shop or any auto repair business, once they start to get this and understand this avatar idea, it'll just flow. It'll just start to happen. Obviously, there are shop owners out there that just aren't very personable, but and they may attract other people that are very much like them. But I've learned over the course of the past 20 years in this industry, at least, that that it is an industry about relationships. That's the bottom line. And so your best customers will think of you as their mechanic, their trusted, shop, their trusted guy that they go to. And I think that, from years and years and even generations of bad culture in this industry, People of every single customer I've ever been in contact with has some horror story about some mechanic ripping them off. And their idea, whether somebody ripped them off or not, is certainly debatable. But the feeling they had was that they got ripped off. And I had that conversation many times with customers that have been to other shops, and they said, "Oh, I got ripped off by this guy." Well, tell me a little bit about that. And of course, by the time I'm done listening to that story, I realized that they didn't get ripped off. They just didn't understand the value of what this guy was doing. And he didn't do his job.
Yeah, the transaction wasn't closed right.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, everyone. In addition to the strict quality remanufacturing steps they take at Jasper Engines and Transmissions, they can actually improve a drivetrain component's original design so that it runs longer and better than it was new. Check out their featured engine and transmission pages at jasperengines.com. Thank you, Jasper, for making this possible. Brian, you sent me a great notes. You call it a P4 ideal customer. Could you quickly share that with us?
Yeah, well, we're fortunate enough, I was telling you earlier, to have someone on staff that handles all of our marketing, branding, social media, website, named Sean Copley. And as we were talking, he came up with this and said, let's call it a P4 customer. And, when you look at that, and he's looking at, you're looking at people that are profitable, who points others towards your business, who praise you to others, and who you're passionate about, working for. And unpacking that a little bit, when you're looking at profitability, there's a lot of different areas to look at that. You say, okay, well, profitability. Well, it's more about how many times that customer comes in. They're truly a client of yours. It's not something they're coming in for a coupon. They're coming in for this, coming in for that. You can break your KPIs down to saying, when you're narrowing down who your avatar is, how many times do these customers come in? 2, 3, 4 times a year. So that's what we're talking about of profitability. Somebody's going to take care of their car, good stewards of their car. That's where the profitability comes from. When they point others to you, it's more about word of mouth. The praise part of it comes that they're praising their experience, and they do that by leaving 5-star reviews. And the other thing is the passion that we have to take care of these people. And that comes full circle because that creates more morale, and it motivates your team from that.
If I was doing business with my avatar, we really worked hard at it. You don't really put down in the description of the avatar is that they leave us 5-star reviews, would you? Because wouldn't you expect that you're going to serve them to the point where it's a natch? It's going to
Absolutely.
Happen.
Yeah.
You don't expect it. You just know that it's going to happen.
Yep. You just want them to share those experiences. But the other thing behind that is, you're only as good as the last time you've seen them. So you've created an avatar, then you have to filter every one of your processes through what you're doing to ensure that you're backing up that brand promise to that avatar. If you don't, then they begin to ask themselves, why am I doing business with ATC? Why am I doing this? So you've got to run everything you do. You've got to filter it through that avatar and know that you've designed your processes around catering to that avatar.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said, Brian.
I've heard a lot, guys, of the word advocate, customer advocates lately. It seems to be the word that I see creaming to the top, which is that person. To me, I think of the ideal customer, the avatar would be almost on the top of the list, guys, that you'd want that person to be your soap, your get on the soapbox and talk large about me.
Well, the beautiful thing about that is, especially in the online world, there's all kinds of chat rooms and Facebook groups, local car clubs, things like that. And we had an incident with a Mini Cooper years and years and years ago, long time ago. Things just didn't go right with the car, and the guy was unhappy. He wasn't our customer to start with. He wasn't the avatar, and it just didn't work out. And this guy slammed us online pretty good. He left this thing years after the fact. Somebody was asking for a BMW shop in Richmond, and he just dragged our name through the mud. And And I didn't even realize it, but 3 or 4 names popped up that came and like defended me almost. I didn't say anything. I stayed out of it. But 3 or 4 people came and said, hey, listen, you know, this shop will do the right thing. You know, have you considered calling him? Patrick will make right by this if you can just communicate with him. Another shop said, you know, basically there's no way, you know, like these guys have done such amazing work for me. And, you know, they were almost our, like, they protected us. They were like, you know, they were defending us, you know. It was a very cool moment.
I'm surprised, Patrick, you were able to stay out of it.
Yeah. I didn't know it happened. I didn't discover this interaction until like a year later, you know? So, but I called those 3 people and thanked them, and they're still my customers today.
Good question, Ron. And that brings me to asking you, guys, is that the right thing to do? Should you stay on the sidelines completely or for a 24-hour period? What would be the way you respond to that?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think that I could speak for every business owner in any business, but things like this happen all the time. You know, you get negative reviews. You may get some negative things said about you, and most often, you know, it pulls at your heartstrings. Your shop is your baby. It's like a little child of yours, and you know, watching somebody beat up your child is certainly not something you're going to put up with. So you know, it's hard. It is. Every single time I get a Yelp review, every single time I get a Google review, it comes up on my email, and I'm just like, you know, pray to God that it's a good one, and most of the time it is. Most of the time it is. Occasionally it's a bad one. I just try to spin the bad reviews in my responses to sound like a good thing, as best I could. I mean, often, you know, people complaining about the simplest things can be a great opportunity for me to talk about our business. But going back to the subject just a bit ago about the advocacy, the customers are advocates versus avatars. I think there are 2 distinct differences there. I have to believe that you can have an advocate who is absolutely 100% not your avatar, and vice versa. I certainly do like to make every customer an advocate. I try to make every opportunity of making every single person I come in contact with an advocate. And a case in point would be just the other day we had a customer walks into our shop. It's already after 5 o'clock. We're closed. And he comes in and he's got this worried look on his face. I've never seen this person before. And he said, I've been running all over and calling all over, and I just got this car and I've got it over at the tire shop down the street, and they can't find, and I can't find the wheel lock key for it. And I said, well, that's not a good thing, but I think we have a master wheel lock key set for it. And I said, but unfortunately it's already 5 o'clock. Can you come back tomorrow morning, or better yet, have the tire shop call me tomorrow morning, and I can start a little process. And he's like, you'd do that? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Just go ahead and have the tire shop call me. So long story short, next day I've got a tire shop who's an advocate of Coast Motor Work. I have a customer who's an advocate of Coast Motor Work, and it's an opportunity. It's like one of the easiest marketing opportunities that I've ever had. You know, I threw the box of locks in a car. I had my assistant girl that does our filing. She ran down to the tire shop, waited for them. They unlocked the wheel. She brought the tools back, and the tire shop calls me back and said, that was amazing. I can't believe you guys did that. That was great. Yeah. You know, we got this guy taken care of. And then the customer shows up about 2 hours later or so, and has this huge smile on his face. He says, you guys have a customer for life. He goes, yep. I got turned down by 3 other shops. No one would even talk to me. And I'm just thinking, okay, so that might have cost me in time, all of about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of my time, to basically build a reputation both in that other shop and this customer. Now, whether or not that customer truly is going to be an advocate, or excuse me, an avatar, or whether the shop obviously is not ever going to be an avatar, it's still showing my employees that we care, showing the customers that we care, and showing other shops that we care.
Guys, I want to interrupt. Brian, I know you just want to burst out, but I have to ask Ron this question. Was he your avatar at the end of the day if you looked at him and put him in a profile? Okay.
No, absolutely not.
All right. Okay. Just curious.
All right, so I'm going to back that up with what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You know, what Ron's talking about, and what we're talking about with an avatar, this isn't an exclusive club. It's not about being exclusive. It's about being strategic. And there's a difference. There's a big difference. And that goes back into, you know, an advocate. Well, just because you don't belong to our exclusive little avatar doesn't mean you can't be an advocate for our business.
Exactly.
My employees like to call it the Jedi mind trick. When I go out and I talk to a customer that is absolutely the farthest thing from our advocacy and farthest thing from our avatar, and I still turn this person into an advocate by, you know, they come to me and they're like, hey, I've got this E46 and it's got this P code and it's this and it's that. And of course I know this customer's not going to spend money to repair this car here at our shop, but I also know this customer's probably connected. You know, he probably has lots of friends. And when they ask him who he takes his car to, he's going to immediately say things like, well, I do it myself, but you might want to take your car to this shop because they really know what they're talking about, because they're the only ones, you know, in the reality, they're the only ones that spent the time to talk to this guy. And so I'm out there talking to him, talking about his car. Hey, you actually did that valve cover gasket yourself? Fantastic. That's great. That's awesome. You did a great job. You know, if you ever need anything from us, let us know, kind of thing. And that's something that no other shop's going to do. You know, they're just going to ignore the guy.
And let's face it, that guy may that he's spending the entire time now waiting for the moment when he could come into your shop with his newer BMW that he finally bought. And that entire time he's been telling people that you'll never even know that he told about you and what you can do. And that's a little bit of magic there.
Absolutely.
I so love this. I love where this goes. Every time we have one of these town halls, each and every Friday, the panel just goes to places that is way unexpected. So here we have avatars and we have advocates, and they kind of connect and then they don't, and they can work in your favor in every way. So, okay, great lesson coming out of this is that don't let your avatar, even though it's important to have and define, let that rule your world.
I think the avatar is really about your marketing approach.
Yeah.
You know, you obviously want to keep those customers and you want to make those customers extremely happy. And you want more of those customers. So that's where you're using the avatar and the concept of the avatar to drive your marketing in the direction that's going to attract those people. Now, everyone that comes in the door may or may not have been influenced by that marketing, strategy. But once they come in the door, that's your opportunity to build an advocate out of them. Every single one of them, regardless of whether they're customers or not.
Right.
Brian, have you named your avatar?
Yes, we have. Well, being from the South, as if you can't tell, we named her Savvy Savannah. So, the funny thing is when we sat down and did this, we started with a list. We started saying, all right, what does this actually look like? What is our ideal customer? Female between the ages of 30 and 45 and married and house owner, and just start listing all these things that they're really busy, they're this or that. And as we were going through that, I said, you know what, you're talking about my wife. And I actually gave this to her, and she looked at it and was like, so I'm your ideal customer? So, well, honestly, yes. So not because she's my wife, but that was how things fit together.
Describe her to us.
All right. So there's a long list of all types of things that we've looked at. We've looked at anything from the background. So Savannah is married with children, one in middle school, one maybe in high school, one maybe in elementary, but 2 to 3 children, age between mid 30s to mid 40s, female, professional mom, works and or volunteers. You've got a owns her own home. And see, these are all things that, you talk about owning their own home. Well, not that there's anything wrong with renting, but when you're starting to look at demographics and starting to really pinpoint, you've got to be very, very precise about what you're doing. And that's why I said earlier, it's best to have one. You can have multiple, but narrow things down. Be so precise about how you narrow this down and then build your brand and your marketing around that. So, you look at personality. The personality is very passionate about brands. Somebody that strives to be a good steward of her stuff. So in other words, if somebody's going to really take care of their stuff, they're going to take care of their car. Wants convenience, wants things to be hassle-free. One of the things we loves free shipping, looking at Amazon. And you think that, well, what does that have to do with working on a car? But if you take that mindset and understand and look at your services that you provide and somehow incorporate that thought process that she has, something that makes her feel good, into your process.
So she's willing to pay for Prime to get free shipping.
Exactly. There you go. It's about value. It's not about the end dollar. It's about value and what kind of value that she's able to get out of that. Got goals. She's organized, likes to get things done, gets the best value for her money spent. There's challenges. So she's a very busy person. So you have to look at, an oil service coming in, scheduling. You look at the entire process of customer calling, vehicle check-in, what your waiting room looks like, what you cater to. So you put everything, you encompass everything in this persona and you create that. Then that persona comes in and deals with you and has a very good experience. So even all the way down to quotes, what do you think she would say? If she came in and did we provided a service for, what would she say? She'd go out in casual conversation saying, have you heard about ATC? You really need to check those guys out. So we've really broken it down from priorities, her common objectives. I'm too busy. You cost too much. I can get my oil changed anywhere. And then you start to design your business and your services around how she's going to react. And then when she believes in you, she's going to tell everybody. She's going to be a fan.
Great detail, Brian. Thank you so much for that. One of the things he did say, and Ron, boy, you got to go to Ron's website, Coast Motorworks. You just got to look at the bathrooms.
Yeah,
you just do. You have to. The most gorgeous bathrooms. I mean, it's Ritz-Carlton level, but you've done that for a reason.
Absolutely. When you think about some of the complaints that our avatar would have, and Brian, I would even challenge you to narrow down your avatar even more than what you have. Our Savannah is 51 years old. She's got, a kid in college. She's definitely college graduated, herself. She's got a degree. She's generally well connected in the community. And so that connection in the community, whether it be, PTA, whether it be, in the actual, let's say the civic part of the community, she tends to have a lot of people that she knows. But, when you hear from these types of customers and our avatars' biggest complaints about the shops that they go to, it's the bathroom, it's the customer lounge, it's the magazines that are available, it's the coffee, everything that makes them feel comfortable. I always like to use this analogy when the first time a customer comes in, when that first time our avatar comes in, she generally comes in with her husband. And then by the end of that visit, we almost never see the husband again. We almost hardly ever hear from him. The customer walks in, she's got her husband with her, and she looks around and she's immediately comfortable, and she sits down. She really doesn't even need to hear all the minutia about the car and what's wrong with it. The husband's going to listen to a little bit of that. Usually, pretty quickly, his eyes gloss over a little bit, realizing we know more than he knows. And he's just looking for her to feel comfortable. If she's comfortable, then from that day forward, it's usually whenever something happens to her car, she calls us. And if she calls him, he's asking her, why didn't you call them?
Yeah,
That's right.
It's the truth. So that's what we try for. That's what we strive for. And the bathroom obviously is just another element of making sure that she's 100% comfortable.
You touched on something kind of cool about making people feel comfortable, and how even the smallest things, even things you may not even think about, do it. Like when people come into our shop in the summertime, they're always offered a water, a soda, or sparkling water. We have like LaCroix sparkling water. In the wintertime, it's coffee, tea, cider, and we always rage about the hot chocolate. We have really good hot chocolate. You gotta try this hot chocolate. Yeah. And most people deny it. Most people turn it down and say, no, I already got a coffee, blah, blah, blah. But it's not about that. It's that we asked. It's that we cared enough about them already, having not even known who they even were, to offer them a cup of coffee. They could have just been coming in the door because they just were in the wrong building, but we're still offering them a cup of coffee, like no matter what. And it's that stuff. The bathroom, we have a little basket full of like hand lotions and little toothpick things and little stuff you might need, and nobody ever uses it, but it's there. It's that people see that we care enough about them that we want them to be comfortable, and when you offer those things, there's something primal about sharing a drink with somebody, about sharing food or sharing. It's like you're inviting them into your home instead of into your business. And it's amazing how people's dynamics will change when you're drinking soda with them, or just hanging out and sitting in the chair now instead of at a service counter.
Absolutely.
All right.
Hey guys, we're nearing the top of the hour, and I do want to give each of you an opportunity to have the last word and talk about anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to bring here. But finally, again, thanks to Jasper. How many times has a customer said that a new vehicle may look and smell real nice, but the reality is they come with seemingly endless monthly payments, higher license fees, and higher insurance premiums. The better solution: remanufactured components from Jasper mean a new lease on life for your customer's trusted old friend. Thank you, Jasper, for supporting the Town Hall Academy. Now, I guess we'll go around the room. Patrick, I'll start with you. Go to Brian and give Ron the cleanup. So thank you for it. We went great places. I loved it. Our title was Your Ideal Customer, Defining Your Avatar. I could go on I got a million more questions, but we'll give it an hour, and we'll take it to the top of the hour. Brian, what you say?
Well, I think some of the biggest key points are knowing who your ideal customer is, what they think about, what they appreciate, what they value, and breaking each one of those components down into bullet points and saying, okay, and then narrowing it down from there. Because at the end of the day, if a customer feels like you know them, they're going to feel valued. And if they feel valued, they're going to come back and see you time and time again. But one of the biggest things you can't take your eye off of is you're only as good as the last time they've been in. And you've got to refine your processes and continually stay on that and ask yourself questions. Filter everything through your avatar. Are we holding up our end of the deal? We've said we were this. Are we doing that? And you can't do that unless you're constantly evolving and really fine-tuning who your avatar is. And Ron, I really, certainly think that you're right, narrowing it down even more. Focusing, it's got to be intentional. It's got to be something. It takes a while to really begin to digest what this really means. And the more you do and the more precise you are, the better it's going to work for you.
A question, Ron, Brian, Patrick, is redefining an avatar almost kind of like a business plan? You want to do it every year or two?
I think it even precedes a business plan, really.
Okay.
You're obviously not going to have a business if you don't have a customer. So, would you put your business idea or your business goals ahead of, your customer?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's a good idea.
My point is that you want to refresh your business plan often. And so would you refresh your avatar?
Absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Hey, thanks, Brian. Great stuff. Patrick.
Thank you.
First off, I just want to say thank you to the mentors I've had along the way that have turned me on to this kind of stuff. Without people like Ron or Cecil or my other mentors, I don't know that I discovered this, because this is not kind of my natural thing. Also, for all the other people out there who are getting nervous just thinking about what they're going to do in their bathroom now, or how they're going to fix up certain things, I also learned very quickly that I don't know those things, and I turned that over to other people. I gave my wife my credit card and sent her to Target, and she showed up with like everything she would want in my bathroom, and she is my avatar just like Brian's wife, and it was perfect, and I didn't have to do anything, and I didn't even have to think about it, and it was better that way. And other people like one of my coworkers, Mike, he buys these candles, these scented candles, and he changes them up, and I didn't even know what a big impact that would make. People walk in the door, and the first thing they think is, wow, this smells nice. That doesn't smell like an auto repair shop. And that little touch I never would have known. And he does that at home. He has candles at home. So he has my Amazon account, and he just buys candles now, and it's great. So rely on
Yankee
others.
Candle?
Yeah, right? They like me. So yeah, thank you guys. This has been really cool.
Great, Patrick. Ron, I'll let you do cleanup.
Well, Carm, thank you very much for the invite, and Patrick and Brian, it's a great day talking about this stuff. It's fantastic. I love this part of the business, really. I think the big takeaway here would just be to really focus on establishing this avatar, establishing the details of this avatar, and don't let what you do in business determine the avatar. Let your customer determine the avatar. Go through the list of people and the best customers, and then start to think about, do I want more of this customer, or do I want more of that customer? Really sit down and think this thing through. Interview those customers if possible. They're generally, if they're the type of people that you really want, they're going to be easy to talk to. And you'll be able to ask them questions, get more information from them, ask them what they do, where they go, what they like, what they don't like, where they vacation, all that kinds of stuff. And then focus on all that stuff, and then write it down. Have it in front of yourself. And when you put together some sort of a marketing plan, don't make the marketing plan something that you yourself will like. Make it a marketing plan that they will like. My biggest mistakes in marketing have always been that I liked what I put together, not the customer, not the avatar. And then, like you said, keep constantly changing and updating your avatar. And then I would say the very next most important thing would be to train your employees about that avatar and explain to them why it's so important. That could almost be a whole nother hour of town hall talking about how to train your employees on this sort of thing.
Can we do that?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Within the next 3 months, baby, you're back. Patrick,
Excellent.
you back?
I'm in.
Brian?
All right.
I'm all in.
Oh, baby, are you kidding me? This is great. There's another low-hanging fruit just came in. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thanks a lot, Carm.
Thank you very much.
Good, man.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Brian.
guys.
Take care, Patrick.
All right. See you guys.